Hey, welcome to another open source live code hangout. We're going to work on the Western Friend website today. We have a few bugs and, well, performance issues that we can work on to improve our Lighthouse score and maybe help reduce bot traffic on our site. The first bug here is on our search page. There's a missing template. So I just need to find out, template does not exist here. And we're trying to load a facet, if I recall correctly. So what we'll do is just come over here and chat with Claude for a minute. Now, Claude doesn't have much context currently about what's going on our website. Let me see if I can improve the volume of the mic real quick. Oh yeah, I just installed. It's 3 decibels. Let's see how that is. That better? Maybe 5 decibels. Yeah, a little bit better. 6, 7 decibels. Okay, now we're getting a bit in a better range. Now I'll just set a quick noise suppression. I tweaked the live stream settings. Sorry for this, but I want the sound quality to be good. And I can't remember which noise suppression algorithm was better. Speaks or, and I will put a limiter so that it cannot exceed minus 1 dB. For safety. All right, now we're good. Now we got some good audio levels there. Back to the issue. So Claude doesn't have the full project in context. So a lot of this is strategic. How can I give Claude the right amount of context? I do have a few other tools like GitHub, Copilot, and we can try something like IDER. I also have this GitHub workspace. Now, with tools like IDER and GitHub Copilot workspace, the whole project is somehow indexed or at least compressed in a way that makes it more accessible to the large language model to find the right places to make the changes. And so here, I'll add this for example. It's sort of causing a lot of server load. So if I submit a new issue here, let's just take a look at how GitHub Copilot works actually. So I open this in Workspace. It's going to scan the whole project. It applies some reasoning. Okay, has the bot traffic to the login page been reduced by removing the login link from the nav bar? So that's not what we want to do. Yeah. So let's try this again. Or let's try this. We'll go to Claude. Right, here's our nav bar. Let's see, based on my imperfect prompt, because remember, more than half of the output is based on input, right? In other words, the output is based on input, garbage in, garbage out. So we just gotta learn to give the right amount of context and information. So we'll go over here to our core templates. And for context, I'll put in the whole nav bar. But for fairness and comparison, I'm giving Claude the same prompt, which is probably, I'm not specific enough here. I'm asking the wrong thing. So Claude might also suggest that we remove the link. To reduce the bot traffic to your login page, we can implement a few strategies in your navbar template. One effective approach is to use the nofollow attribute. That's actually exactly what I wanted on the login link, which tells search engines and many bots not to follow the link. We can also add some simple JavaScript to obfuscate the login URL, making it harder for bots to find. Here's an updated version of your navbar template with these changes. We're going to add the nofollow, remove the direct URLs from the login and register links. href points to that. Add the JavaScript to handle login. So I'm worried about collateral damage here. Because we're reducing accessibility. When we override basic browser functionality in JavaScript, that's a no-go in my opinion. We do want to add ARIA controls. So let's see if it's so it added nofollow. Let's make sure our navigation menu is fully accessible to screen readers. So let's see if there's something I overlooked there. Always accessibility should be a top priority, and unfortunately in this project I haven't always prioritized that. So now we'll read what it changed. It's here are the key accessibility improvements. We added the ARIA label main navigation to the nav element to clearly identify its purpose for screen readers. We added a role menu bar to the main user unordered list. Elements indicate they contain a set of navigation links. Added role none to LI elements and role equals menu item to the actual interactive elements buttons within them. This ensures that screen readers announce the interactive elements correctly. Wow, cool. Improved the search form, added role equals search to the form element, and added a visually hidden label to the search input. Wow. Added change type equals text to type equals search for the search input. All right. Update the ARIA label on the search submit button. Use ARIA hidden true on the search icon to prevent screen readers from announcing it as it is decorated. True. Ensure that the logout button uses navlink class for consistent styling and gave it a role menu item. Okay, this might be a breaking thing. I'll have to check the navlink styling. Gave it a role menu item for proper semantics. Separated the register link into its own list item for better structure. Okay. Maintained the relevant nofollow attributes on the login and register links to help with the traffic reduction. These changes will significantly improve. I like it. And so we'll always check the code and we will verify it works still. Very cool. So Claude is, I think, already here much superior to what I was going to get with the GitHub Copilot workspace. I just wish Claude had better semantic awareness of the structure of the project and the interactions across files, so I wouldn't have to do kind of so much, so to speak, hand-holding. I have to like sort of be very intentional with the context. But in terms of the way it interprets my intention and the prompt, it's very robust. My prompt wasn't very good here. Okay, so now we're gonna run. So check the code very carefully, and we're going to run the server though. Whoops. Oh yeah, and I can't remember if we've got the database set up. We'll just check this in just a moment. Open the browser, there we are. So the nav menu looks good. Login and register still look pretty good. If I view it on the large screen, login and register still look clean and separated. I might not have a super user here. It is a common password because we're in a development environment, so run that server. And it looks like, yeah, this is just a common password in our development environment. The logout button just scrunches up a little bit, so we can fix that. Okay. The log out button. Other than that, this looks good, so we'll commit this. Improved navbar semantics is much more robust now. No following ARIA labels. Pre-commit scanning everything. So the next question is, on a large screen, is there a way I can add this margin end conditionally? Is and search. I want it to be targeted. Okay, so we had some formatting changes that it applied. But it gave me the whole thing again. So what did it? Change is a bit difficult to see what it changed without the diff view. Margin in large 3. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. It was just this large infix, but I couldn't remember the exact semantics of it. All right, so it's also changing the form, margin bottom, which was a bit of a hack, I think. Form inline. So let's take a look. The margin bottom we need to keep, because now the margin bottom it's a bit of a tricky one. So So the search field is of the hamburger menu. So small tweak. I don't, again, know the exact semantics, so we're going to see if Claude can help us, just rather than referring to the docs quite a lot. So if I can explain the problem, it's more declarative style of programming that we can do with large language models. Okay, so let's go ahead and see this change in effect, and I'll just check the diff again. Here, whoops. Okay, so what did we get? So we have this margin in right on the nav bar. The whole right nav bar item menu bar that contains all of the links. That's good. This is just dedented that there weren't any specific lines there, so that's just a stylistic thing. I think our linter might disagree, but I'm not sure exactly. Here it is. So now we have specifically margin bottom 2 that will apply on the basic screen size, small, and then okay, so this was what I was not sure. Can you set it to 0 on large screens? And apparently you can. Margin bottom large 2, thanks to Bootstrap semantics. Pretty cool. All right, so this is sounding better. And again, this was just a white space change, basically indentation changed here. All right, so let's go ahead and preview it. Refreshing it. Now when I fly it out, there we go. We got a little bit of space here. It looks just a little bit cleaner that way. And now our logout button is separated, and any of these buttons would be separated here as well. It's the same because it's wrapping this menu item. Very cool. Man, I like it. When we do things that are very standardized and have been around for a while and are very well documented, like HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, just the vanilla web standards, and things like Bootstrap and Django, template language, I'm getting very good results from the large language models because it's in their training data and it's out in, Stack Overflow and everything like that. And it doesn't change every 6 months. So that's a problem when you have an ecosystem that's constantly churning and changing and reinventing itself. Your results, I think, are going to be diminished. Let's commit these. So it's kind of another reason to bet on simple and relatively boring technologies. You can deliver some really cool projects really fast. You get a lot of help from the large language model. This is just changing the menu layout. And with that, we can open a pull request. And it did disagree, I think, on the on the indentation. So our linter caught that and did put the indentation inside of these blocks back to another level. That makes our diff smaller as well and more focused on the actual change. So yeah, this is just an example. It's not just the large language models, of course. We want to get as much help as we can from all these assistive tools. I've got pre-commit running here, running some low-level lint checks and automatically changing code for me, improving my usage of more modern language features, because we do want to be able to have better developer ergonomics. So I'm not against change by any means. Just the pace of change needs to be kind of regulated and moderated a little bit. All right, so now I've got an assistant here writing the pull request message for me, and then we'll hop over to GitHub and check it out, and I'll have a pull request review by another automated large language model called Codium, which is actually really helpful. I've tried a few projects to automatically, monitor our code quality in the continuous integration pipeline, looking for potential bugs, potential security vulnerabilities, and we're getting some pretty good results. But this Codium came along, and I've tried one that I can't remember the name, that had really poor results. It was more frustrating. I disabled, but Codium has actually given me some really interesting meta level feedback and suggested changes for accessibility and other things. So here in a minute, I believe we should see Codium come along. I can't remember exactly if I've enabled this on Western Friend repositories, but we'll check out Codium real quick. Codium AI, and there's a VS Code plugin for this, and it does give you a meaningful code review. Let's see, we can just get rid of that, as well as their website's a bit junky, but you can get in-context assistance with pull request reviews, as well as it'll help you write test coverage, particularly for Python, but I think some other languages are in the pipeline as well. So another reason that I'm drawn to using Python, but it can enhance, you can clean your code and link things to GitHub issues. So it's got a few things that I think in a way it's competing with GitHub Copilot. I guess I haven't enabled it here. So let me go ahead and do that in another tab so that we can use it in our Western Friend pull requests, and you can see how it works. It's a really interesting tool. I'm currently using the free version. It's quite capable, but I'm getting so much value out of it. I think it would justify the upgrade because it's suggested some really interesting and useful changes, particularly for accessibility, but also security and code ergonomics. So I'm going to just on the other tab here, see if I'm going to double check if the PR agent is enabled on Western Friend. Configure it. It seems it is. It should be enabled, but maybe I've exceeded a quota. So I am, again, on the free version. I might not have picked up on this particular change here. Yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't pick it up. Let me make sure this is not a draft pull request. This is actually a pull request. So yeah, we're good there. If I save it, if I jiggle the handle, I'll just save the change. Save it again. But in any case, this is a relatively small pull request. So let's go ahead and get this one merged and see if in the next pull request, there's a couple of bugs I want to fix during this session. So I want to keep them kind of small. Another thing that Codium really helps with is improving the comment for the pull request reviewer. It goes like file by file and describes the specific changes that were there. And again, it suggests some improvement. So it does a little preliminary review that it feels like a pseudo, I don't want to say, well, senior engineer. Like it'll catch things that are not just like lint level stuff. It's got enough like wherewithal of coding practices that it's going to give you non-linty level feedback. So we'll squash and merge this. I'm just waiting for the CI to pass. All right, so it did pass, and we'll squash and merge that now. Good. Let's go to the next bug. So that was good. Thank you, Claude. Refresh our main branch. Now, and I forgot to close the issue. Well, close by 11. We've been working on this project for 6 years, so we've done quite a lot of issues and pull requests, as you can tell. Now, search page links. This is a big one. And then we'll work on the time to first paint. So we're going to optimize the code, I think, with a couple of small improvements. But essentially, I think what we need here, we're just missing a template. Okay. I'm just going to give it the 500 error. Boom, boom, boom. Pasted it in. See what it says. Just with that amount of context. I didn't show it any of the code or anything, but it's showing me what I need to add. All right. Template does not exist. Facets, time period, index page. So that one. And we'll look here in our app. It's fairly well organized. It's a modular monolith. In other words, one project, full stack. We're not using client server split architecture where we have two different projects. And it's modular, so all of the components are in their own application. Django has pioneered the modular monolith architecture, which I think we're sort of circling back around to in the web development community. Templates, so facets, templates, facets, time period, index page. We got time period. Is looking for a template file when accessing library, facets, time period. So let's just see if I can add that. Shoot. Yep. And it's strange that I need it for this one. I'm not sure why my time period isn't quite working. So when I go to library facets time period, trying to think how I can reproduce this. Well, it's running. So if I log in, I haven't worked with this bit of code in a while. We're gonna have to reproduce this, and I get it. It's testing account. We'll go to library, facets, time periods. So either I need to define this or remove the reference to it. This is the tricky part. It's occurring in the search results. So rather than linking here, somehow we're getting a link to the time period index page. And it's specifically on this search. These facets are only used in library items. So we have a search, and then for all the paginated results, it looks for a search template. Otherwise, it's going to render it the result. So what I might do to fix this is a bit circuitous, but instead of adding this time period index page in view, I can add a media library search template, or library item search template essentially. So in order to do that, let me just take a look at how I've done the event. I'll go ahead and do full screen here so I can focus a bit more on code. And if we go to our events model, we should have search template. So then we can go to our library item, model, and essentially so just copy basically this template, and we'll just say library item. And it's essentially a card. And what we would do is we go through the library item as publication date. It has a body, has a title, but I think we're just not going to return much else. We might not even need the publication date, to be honest. Just a link to the page entity right there like that. Yeah, H2. Okay, so this actually, I believe, is the indirect solution to our bug, where it was basically, this was using some sort of a default template. I'm not sure exactly what it was rendering in. Well, it's essentially the default. It was the fallback here. So I can delete this on the search template right here. So it was falling back to just a generic representation of the result, which could include more fields and potentially, these library item fields, these relational fields. So genre and audience and medium. And I don't have index pages set up for all of those. So, and I don't think we need them. They're sort of virtual pages. It's a bit of a technical thing, but the way Wagtail organizes its content is in like folders. Whoa, got a bunch of welcome pages somehow. You can see here though, and you can have pages within pages, and in certain way I'm designing the content hierarchy or the content architecture to help the content manager or the person editing the content to think about where things should go naturally. Magazine stuff goes in the magazine folder, right? Magazine departments go into the magazine departments folder, stuff like that. But some of these folders are just used for that purpose of managing the content, and some of them are actually used to help people navigate this site. There's a little bit of a relationship there, and this was a particular feature where we only need the folder view. So when I go to library media, we have a facets folder, but I don't need sort of these index pages for navigation. I just needed the index page here so that we can define facets like time period. For example, and then again back in pages, somehow there's a bug with the welcome page having too many facets, too many instances of the welcome page coming up there. Let's see where we're going to. Library media, facets. Yeah, now we have time period facets. It's just like a virtual folder to help us organize the content. Anyway, so that's just a little peek. And all this is generated by Wagtail. It's really cool. All this stuff on the back end, Wagtail CMS. So that's a bit of an explanation as to why I think that problem was occurring. That would have been too hard to explain to Claude. So the amount of code was fairly simple. So I just went ahead and wrote that. We'll revert this change. And let me make sure that in my model search library item, that's correct. We're just showing the title. Okay, that's a good start. The feature here is like a search that looks across many different types of content and is an integrated search solution. And basically for every content type, we should define the way it should be represented on the search. I just have that fallback there to catch, the ones that I haven't defined by accident or oversight, or that maybe we just decided it was too simple and we didn't need to worry about it. Here is one where I've had to catch that. So now we can check on GitHub. This pull request should be open here. Let's see if we get any help from Codium, but I think I might have exhausted my free. My trial period. Oh yeah. So yeah, it's the thing as my trial period ended. I'll probably renew that in a couple of days. It has been a useful tool. So hopefully this will resolve the bug there. Just a few lines of code, not very much. Need to change there. I think I'll just go ahead and merge this because it shouldn't. Oh, wait. Close it. Find the right issue. 13. All right, and then the final one of the evening will be a bit of a performance. No, where's time to first paint? We're gonna look at our page speed. Okay, so this one I'll ask for help from Claude, and I'm trying to think what the context I should provide Claude with. And essentially, I think we can run this page speed check locally on the front page. If I open the dev tools, we did the no follow. Dark mode, please. So essentially, we got some third-party scripts that are maybe slowing down. They're blocking the loading of the page. When I look at our page speed, here's the more context here. It doesn't have dark mode, but we scanned our main website, and the time to first contentful paint was a little over 2 seconds. And time to first byte was actually kind of high too. That's a server optimization thing. I don't think I'll be able to change. But this so between 1.3 and 2 seconds, there's some slight optimization we can make. And I think it's by reducing this blocking time. And so it's suggesting that I eliminate render blocking resources. So what I do is this. Just give Claude the feedback. I don't know how we'll do this. Server response time. I'm not sure why this is so large. It took so long to come down. I think it was just at the end of the chain. Reduce CSS. But these are, I'm already using the minified versions of Bootstrap, and we're probably not going to switch to chain. Tree shaking, I mean. And we're going to use Matimo and Sentry. But we might not need so many JavaScripts. guess I should also include these. And then what I'll do is I'll bring in the indexed template. So we can just start there right away. So that's under our core. Core templates. Huh. Okay, I see. There's that. And I don't think we have any scripts or anything down here. We have a little bit of JSON LD. Heading and navbar. All right, let's just see what it can do with our main template. Based on the page speed insights, feedback, and your base HTML, there are several optimizations we can make to improve your website's performance. Let's address the main issues. Eliminate render blocking resources, reduce the impact of third-party code, enable text compression. Here's an optimized version of your base HTML. Interestingly, we should just use the middleware. This is why I like using Django, because it's already solved that problem. Let me make sure we've enabled it. So core settings, middleware. Whoops. And then we should have an enable here. We're not using it. All right. Security researchers revealed that when compression techniques, including use of middleware, are used on a website, the site may become exposed to a number of possible attacks. To mitigate these attacks, Django implements a technique called Heal the Breach, HTB. It adds up to 100 bytes of random data to each response to make the attacks less effective. Yeah, so these are also security things that just are baked into the framework. And where should I install it? So we'll come back to this in a moment. Let me just paste that in and see if we can get another response there. And now we'll check it out. So what do we got here? It eliminated render blocking resources using the preload for critical resources. Inline critical CSS and the style tag. You'll need to identify and extract critical CSS above the folder content. Interesting. Which is essentially bootstrap. So we're gonna have some page shift, I think. Defer loading of non-critical CSS using media print and onload this media all. This is more time consuming than I was expecting. Reduce the impact of third-party code. Defer attribute on Sentry script, for example. Load the Matimo asynchronously after the page is loaded using add event listener load. Enable text compression. This needs to be done on the server side. Ensure your web server is configured to use gzip or Brotli compression. I don't trust the release history. I'd like to use something in Django core. All right, so we'll go back here. So here's the updated middleware, because you have to put these in the right order. I don't always know where it should go, but it says they put it on the, like, right after the security middleware. Okay. And then let's see what we changed here. Copy this and look at the Delta base. Okay, now we'll look at the diff to see what's going on. Okay. So it knows we need Bootstrap to be preloaded. And essentially we're going to preload all of our CSS. Hey AJ Programming, welcome. How are you doing today? I think we do need to preload this because we migrated from Drupal, and Drupal uses the CK editor and added a bunch of inline styles, and all those styles were imported to the content. So we're not going to really ever get away from those, I think. Hello, AJ. Welcome. Yeah, so now the non-critical CSS for Bootstrap icons. This is interesting. It's both. Static CSS website is both preload and here. We don't need it in both places. Static. So I guess we will make the decision here to preload those. How are you doing today? Do you do any web development, or what kind of stuff do you like to work on? So I was deferring Sentry and Bootstrap and all of those other things. But now we're going to load Matimo asynchronously. And okay. Immediately invoked. order to do that, how does the loads it asynchronously? Interesting. Through the event listener. Okay, well, I'll just have to trust this one that it works. So now, with those changes in place, we hop back over here and we check our I need that this fave icon here. Okay, so we don't need to preload those two. So I'll move them out of the, that's interesting. It could be that it needs to be preloaded on a different page and I don't want to have content shift. Okay, so non-critical CSS, even though it seems like it was critical. And then favicon, let's do that. Favicon ping to favicon ICO. And then we're just going to put that in our course static. Favicon.ico. Let's see if it works now. Just ask Claude here. Just don't know how to include that in the templates. The head. That's pretty good. All right. That's interesting. Security came to the top. And this got linted. Okay, well, I'm not going to fight the linter, but that's what happened there. I need to go in a branch. Improve the page score. Well, now it's more focused. Optimize scripts and styles. The linter runs. We'll publish the branch. Okay, well, we're getting pretty close to done here. So it's been a pretty good session. We'll merge these and we'll check on the version of the site online. It takes just a few minutes to deploy once I merge the changes. We'll do like a before and after, see if we can improve. Close 111. Django, time to first boot, first byte. Caching, yeah. No, this is not a panacea. It's not going to improve the time to first byte. Virtual DOM is pure overhead. I mean, if you're serving up content, it's rendered already. This is not good advice. Because you have to render and then render time to first byte. Though time to first byte doesn't mean it's not first contentful paint. Okay, you'll get a fast first byte, but your contentful paint will be penalized because it has to wait for React to render the virtual DOM. No, we've explicitly not used a single page application architecture. Interesting. So static and CDN Django debug and see what's slow. Yeah. Jinja. And moving out of the non-critical CSS. Interesting. Async or defer tags. Can you async or defer loading of CSS? Well, that won't fix the time to first byte though, because the first byte is when the first response comes back from the server, then the CSS gets loaded in by traversing those links. So I think it's a bit complicated and admittedly confusing. So we'll see if we get a better score here in a moment. Okay, so we'll go ahead and merge this pull request. Get the green check mark almost. Still running tests. It's in the post step, so I can just go ahead and merge. Squash and merge so we can easily roll back. And then I'll just monitor over here for the deployment to complete. And we'll open a new tab. We'll check these side by side, before and after. And actually, I can take a screenshot here. All right. Waiting on a deployment. So like in the basically next session, we will look at a more complicated task, such as writing this script here. We have a bunch of content on the Internet Archive going back to 1929. There's PDF scans of physical print documents. And we would like to back those PDFs up to make sure we've got them not only on the archive as an archival resource, but somehow securely stored locally. So we're not exactly sure of the scale or scope of that work, but it might not be too difficult to write this script. A couple of lines of code might just work. done initial research on this downloader. It looks like you can just download individual items or even an entire collection by searching for the collection and passing it at the items list from that search directly to the download command. Interesting. So the key is for resilience, and I don't know how many items there are. I think we would want to take an iterative approach, but I can just try it out. Collection, I have to get our collection name anyway. The app is live now. If I refresh, let's see here. So we'll come to that later. I have two of those open. Close that tab to make sure everything loads correctly. Hard refresh. There we go. We have our favicon, so we know it deployed. Finally, we have a favicon. This is a simple, basic one, but there it is. And things are looking pretty good. Pretty fast first contentful paint. I didn't notice a major delay after clearing the cache. Let's see what it says. Analyzing. Well, we did reduce it a little bit. And there's no cumulative layout shift. That's what I was worried about if we deferred those CSS files. Oh, our performance is 40. Total blocking time. The cumulative layout shift. So we have to load those. Those are essential. Why didn't, let's see. Huh. Avoid large layout shift, 2 of them. Sentry's taking up quite a lot, and Matamo. Oh, the heat map. Well, heat map is not doing much, but 258 milliseconds in the Sentry. Do we need Sentry? Well, we don't need the replay tracing, so that can save us some. But now we've got another problem. So we fixed one, but then our performance score went down. Man, I thought the session was over. I thought we had done a good job. Pat on the back time and ready to roll, but no, large layout shift. That's a major one. Error correctness suspecting the layout shift might be related to the asynchronous loading of Bootstrap CSS. When the CSS is loaded asynchronously, it can cause a flash of unstyled content. Folk. What the folk? To address this issue, we need to balance between performance and optimization and preventing layout shifts. Yeah, because layout shift is much worse than the performance. We're not really in bad margins of performance here. Load critical CSS inline, preload bootstrap, use font loading strategy. Let's modify the head section of your base template. Inline critical CSS. We've added a style tag where you should insert critical CSS and ensures the most important styles are available. Yeah, I don't really have that separated out currently. Preload bootstrap CSS. We're preloading bootstrap. This tells browser to start downloading as soon as possible. Load bootstrap synchronously. Yeah, we've removed the async loading of bootstrap CSS to prevent layout shifts. While this may slightly slow down the initial render, it should prevent the layout shift. Yeah. Font loading strategy. We preload the bootstrap icons font file. We use a print media query trick to load bootstrap icons CSS synchronously, which should prevent it from blocking rendering while still loading quickly. Okay. Pre-connect to a CDN. We've added pre-connect to establish early connections. Analyze your page to determine what CSS is truly crucial for the above the fold content. Yeah. That's a much larger undertaking because a lot of it is bootstrap and some of it is custom CSS. So we have an optimized head here. And I'm not going to open a branch. I'm just going to, well, yeah, I should have. We'll just run the pre-commit real quick. It'll lint, make our differences a little smaller, maybe not. Okay, so it didn't know about that. So put that back. I think we need that. So what I'll do is I'll selectively stage the changes. This is an all right one. So I don't think these icons are going to work now without the CSS. Let's find out. Ah, okay. But we don't have those. Yeah, I'm not as convinced of this. Let's double check where we're using some of these bootstrap icons. Okay, so in the footer we should have the bootstrap icon rendering. It is. Let me just commit this real quick. So yeah, let me just double check when we load the page, clearing the cache, we get those there. And when I check the I'm going to ignore these warnings. That's what got me into trouble a minute ago. The link to the bootstrap icons is incorrect. And just for clarity, I'm going to ask Claude. It seems to be working, but it's just confusing. I don't know how WAFs work, though. So loading the WAF file directly without accompanying CSS won't allow you to use Bootstrap icon classes. CSS file is crucial. Yes, we can't really do that. Well, I'm not going to commit this change, then I'll just revert that. Kind of a waste of time just going back and forth on this, but okay. Sometimes that happens. Interesting. This is pretty cool. It was loaded. Everything was loaded. Small burst of activity there. Okay, deployment's going, and then I'm going to have to take a break, call it an evening. Yeah, it's almost 800 milliseconds where nothing happens. First paint, yeah, 900 milliseconds. Just one layout shift because the button gets added. This is pretty cool. DOM content loaded event fired off right there after just over a second. But then it needs to be painted. So the content loads and it needs to be painted. This is weird. First content will paint. Oh, I see how it's working. So we're waiting. Yeah, the anonymous view is much faster. That makes sense. Okay, the deployment is live. Let's go ahead and rerun this. Hopefully we don't get that shift we had earlier. If we have just like a little bit of a really reduction, 2.6, or an improvement in performance, I'd be glad for that. But we're kind of pretty close. We have to wait till the diagnostic runs. 80, dang it. No cumulative layout shift. Well, reducing sentry and disabling the replay, that'll help. It takes a long time to load that 3 kilo. Can minify that maybe. That's true. Maybe this whole thing could be an inline. Just seeing if I can disable the sentry or optimize sentries. Resource usage, okay, doesn't look like this tracing replay. Okay, so actually I don't need to, so this actually didn't change. I can just look here to see that it didn't change. So good, there's a sentry default setting here. I have disabled the session replay, so that should give us a little bit of a boost. On the sentry user interface, Claude for beacon is pretty small. The bootstrap icons is sort of one of the bigger ones. 129 kilobytes. Bootstrap minified. You know, switching to a different, we're not really going to be switching to another CSS framework, so with tree shaking or anything like that, so there's not so much I can do here. Now it seems like if I look at these CSS styles, there's not much, it shouldn't cause much layout shifting. These are smaller tweaks. But in any case, yes, we got a little bit worse, didn't we? And with metrics, I mean, it can just become so consuming to try to tweak these metrics. I don't think we're going to be able to really get 83 back to 83 there. So that was good. And there could be some variability with each time thing is run. So that's still loading. But yeah, so it's like running and getting back to 84 almost. Interesting. So those are all good, but I'm not going to be able to do those this evening. All right, so I think that's about it. Kind of shuffled in place there. This wasn't such a successful effort. Maybe a bit of optimization. All right. Well, it's been another open source live code hangout. I've been working on some web development tasks for the Western Friend project. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing well, and have a great day.